slide, but I thought the Presley factor sounded so much more sophisticated, so kind of left it for the second slide. But this young man was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was a twin. His twin was stillborn. And I lived in Memphis for a time and fell in love with this guy. I was married, but I really didn't cheat. So let's hear you spell Mississippi, because this is always fun for the audience to do. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great. I liked how you did that together. That was great. So I flipped this slide just because you're not supposed to have too much text, but didn't want to put a photo here. As a musician, he wanted a music deal. So he went into a talent agent, and he wanted to talk to them about putting a record out there. And he met this woman, unfortunately, or someone who looked like her. Let's call her Betty. Are there any Bettys in the crowd? I'm so sorry. Anyway, she said, "Hi, fill out this form, and who do you sound like?" And he said, "I sound like me." He wasn't a really bright guy, but I still love him. And he says, "I sound like Elvis." And she says, "Okay, but who else do you sound like?" And he said, "I sound like me. I'm Elvis Presley." And she said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you. Because if you don't know who you sound like, we can't have you see our talent agent because you can't get a music deal with us." So that began for him a soul-searching exercise where he finally did obviously land a record deal with Sun Records in 1954, and he went on to become the largest selling solo artist of all time. I don't know about Gaga, she might have met that, but it was records, so with vinyl, he was the biggest. The moral of this story, and you've heard some of it tonight with a lot of the presentations that have been presented, but you miss out if you see conformity. If the only thing you see in people is what you already know, and you put them in that paradigm, you really, really miss out on some of the greats. I just got to see this man a couple of days ago in Toronto, Thomas Friedman. You might know him, very controversial. He had 2 bodyguards there, that proved it. The World is Flat, his newest book is called That Used to Be Us. He talks about innovation, and he talks about the new world. And basically, his whole idea is if we want to progress as a nation and as a world, we can't just think according to old paradigms. We can't just label and sort according to what we used to read or who we used to be. The greats, like we don't sit around and say, who does Bob Dylan sound like? Willie Nelson, well, he's an old guy who sounds kind of garbly when he sings. These were the greats. And so we don't want to be like this one. We have to think of, I'm sorry, Betty, but we have to think of the secretary that said, you know what, we don't have a place for you here. You'll have to move on. She didn't get a promotion that year, I bet. Is this man a genius, or does he just need to comb his hair? Imagine if we just said, hey, let's write him off, because the flat iron is really in, we should all straighten our hair, and he's just messy, right? So, yeah, really have to think about it. So the new literacy, again, according to Friedman, is the ability to learn and relearn constantly. In the old days, we had to find a job. Now we have to invent a job. At Sioux College, most of what we do is prepare learners to think in critical ways because we don't know what the majority of those jobs will look like in the future. So you not only have to invent it, you have to reinvent it. And you not only have to be yourself, you have to reinvent yourself over and over again. Thomas Friedman talks about this being in beta mode. So when you create software, you have a beta stage. It means you're about 90% done. And you're always reinventing and re-improving. So this is what we do with ourselves. Instead of just looking at another model and saying, I should be more like that. Just be more like yourself. Unless you're a total jerk, then none of this applies. Don't be like yourself, be like somebody else. So find that value add, find that extra that you bring to the world, that uniqueness, because every one of us has it, and we don't want to just be clones. There's enough cloning going around. Elvis really reached the height of his success when I saw his wig in the Value Village, and I could buy it for Halloween. We may not ever reach that level of success, but we can try. So this guy really exists. I met him last night as I was putting this presentation together. Yes, this was the last minute. I'm the stand-in. His name's Larry. He's an impersonator, but he told my husband and I over dinner, you know what? I'm really myself when I give an Elvis impersonation. I put myself in there, and I said, that's what the king would want you to do. So let's give him a hand.